Welcome to another exciting episode of Lucky Last. This week, I'm thrilled to introduce my guest, Kate Peck, a woman with a passion for speed and a palate for fine wine. By day, Kate is a renowned motorsport reporter, bringing you the latest from the racing world with her keen insights and dynamic presence. But when the sun sets, she transforms into a wine enthusiast, currently studying the highest wine certification in the world. Navigating a predominantly masculine environment, Kate had to prove her capabilities time and again, overcoming numerous challenges to establish herself as a respected voice in motorsport. Her resilience and determination are a testament to her unwavering commitment to her craft. Tune in to Lucky Last and get ready to be inspired by the extraordinary Kate Peck. Kate, thank you for joining me in my podcast, Lucky Last. I'm very happy to have you here. Let me introduce you. You have an interesting journey and background. You started your career as a model at 16 years old. And then a few years later, you went on a motorcycle trip in Africa for 3 months. And your perspectives changed a bit there. And when you came back, you decided to make your way to work in the motorcycle environment. And you made your way as a motorcycle reporter, and you co-produced a few shows, and now you are the host of the Australian Motor Show, Pro MX Championship, and the Australian Superbike Championship.
Yep.
As it's not enough, you are a mum, but you are as well passionate about wine, and I love this.
Yes.
You completed your wine and sommelier certification, and I believe that you are launching a venture soon in wine.
Oh, I love that. So currently I'm studying it's called the Wine and Spirits Education Trust, so the WSET, so level 4. So it's a 2-year diploma. And it's the course before you do your mega Master of Wine, which there's only like 240 or something in the world that make it through that course. I don't know if I'm going to get there, but the WSET 4 is a very challenging course, and it requires a lot of effort and work. I'm 1 unit in, and holy shit. I think we all just didn't realise what we'd bitten off in the class. A lot of them work in wine. I work in wine media a little bit.
Okay.
So a lot of them are sommeliers already. So I definitely have more catching up than the rest of them. But what it can lead to is wine adventures that I would love to do, motorcycle or car tours that lead to wineries where you stay the night and then you tour on to the next one, etc., etc. As if you wouldn't come on that.
That sounds so good. It sounds amazing. That's such a good idea. I think you will definitely have a niche and some
niche.
demand there. Okay, so let's start where it all started. Bonjour. I'm very happy to have you here, Kate. You are a motorcycle passionate. You're riding a bike since you are very young, I believe?
No, actually. Most people, you would think that. But I only got my scooter license when I'd moved to Sydney from Melbourne, and I had to get around to my castings. And I didn't have my car license. So I got a scooter license, which is a motorcycle license, and I would ride to my castings in all my leathers, and then I would park the scooter and I would find a pub or somewhere to get changed. And then I'd get into my model casting clothes and my book, and I'd go into the casting, and then I'd go back to the pub, get back into my leathers for my scooter because I was so concerned about safety, and scoot home.
So it started with a scooter.
It started with a scooter, but my dad rides around the world. He was riding around the world every year for 10 months of the year for 10, 15 years, and he still does with my stepmom. But that was the motorcycle influence that I got from him. Even though my parents are separated, I was still heavily influenced by his motorcycle adventures, and I knew one day I would like to get there. But yeah, it took me a little while to get there.
Okay. So you were a model, and then you did this trip in Africa, this 3-month trip in Africa on your motorcycle. First of all, why did you do this trip?
Yeah, so when I was 16, I entered a television competition called Search for a Supermodel, which was a modelling TV show, really. Like a Next Top Model, but a really nice one. Like, we had a wonderful time. We didn't walk out of there like screwed up or anything. It was great. And then out of school, early 20s, I think, or 20, Dad invited me to, he was doing, I think they'd done like Europe down through Africa, and they were making their way to the bottom of Africa, and they said, do you want to come on this 3-month motorcycle trip, or just come as long as you can? And that is how long I could come. So it was on their invitation, and they'd been trying to get me to come over to another country and ride for a while, but I was able to go and do this one, and that's why I ended up over there traveling with my dad and stepmom. And that was my first motorcycle experience. I'd only done scooters before, so it was a very much throw yourself into the deep end and just hope you swim, because they weren't waiting for me either. They were like, get on, let's go. Can't keep up. So it was a fantastic, life-changing, real tipping point of an experience for me.
Amazing. This is when you realize that you want to do something with motorcycle. You found your passion, your hobby, you like it, and you want to stick to it.
Yes, yeah. So it wasn't like something that you can just come home and do, because, you know, there's no normal pathway. I didn't even know what I wanted to do in it. I just knew that I wanted to be involved in motorcycling, motorsport, probably media, and combine those somehow, because I'd been modelling and I'd tried to do quite a few other jobs, and I'd got fired from a lot of normal jobs. So I decided that I needed a plan A. My plan A was television. It had to be something on camera, because nothing else was working for me. So it would be the combination of motorcycles with media somehow, and television was my kind of goal at that stage.
Amazing. So you started, if I read correctly, you started as an ambassador for the Formula One Grand Prix in Melbourne, and then you started to be known around in this networking, in this world, and you've been able to get your first gig as a host of a motorcycle show.
That was my first experience in quite mainstream media, taking on that role that my modelling agency actually got for me. So it was a spokesperson role, an ambassador role, and it exposed me to mainstream media. And I was like the voice of spokesperson for the Australian Formula One Grand Prix. So from there, MTV saw me in an image in a magazine, and they approached me to come and be a VJ or a host on MTV Australia.
Nice.
So I was then with MTV Australia and with a co-host for 6 years, I think. And during that time, I had many ambassador roles for different motorcycles. I would host different motorcycle launches, go on different rides with different manufacturers, and Channel 10 started a weekly motoring program around my halfway mark with MTV, and so then I would go and shoot their stuff on the regular, and MTV kind of transitioned me into Channel 10, the RPM Motorsport motoring program. So that's how that kind of happened, and that was always a goal that I never knew that I had was this perfect show on Channel 10, which is a free-to-air network, and this show was so much fun. I got to work with fantastic people. I'd get to do all these crazy adventures, and got my race car license and went on adventure motorbike rides and all kinds of car and bike things.
Terrible.
It was awful, and someone had to do it, and I just happened to be me. So yeah, that was just such a beautiful time in my life that I just was so grateful and appreciated all the time. Like, I just got to do the most fabulous things.
So do you think because you put yourself there to the universe and you are like, okay, this is where I want to be, around what I want to do you think that it helped, if you put your mindset into it, do you think that it helped you to get where you wanted to be?
Yeah, I think, yes, you definitely have to manifest things, that does help. It's so much about your mindset. And I think when you tell people about things, like, people don't know that you want to do things until you tell them about it. And you really commit yourself to activities, whatever it is, to goals, when you are vocalizing them, and you're held accountable because people are asking you, how are you going with that? And you feel terrible if you're not fulfilling what you promise people. So I definitely think that you need to make steps towards what you want to do. You need to tell people about it. You need to put it out in the universe. And that's the only way people are going to know that you're available and free and happy to do these positions, because they're quite, in terms of my position, it's quite a niche. It's a very small niche market, so you do have to make a bit of noise around it. And I had been working at it for a few years, like it was about 4 years or something before something like that TV gig came up. So it doesn't just happen overnight. You do have to work at it slowly behind the scenes and just chip away, and then you will get noticed if you're doing good things in that space and creating something different. Because there's not a lot of, A, it's niche, and B, there's not a lot of women in
this industry.
Motorsport, motorcycling especially, and in Australia, like more so in Europe and the US, but like zip all in Australia. So I had that. It's not good that there's not many women in the industry, but I was able to use it to my advantage as well.
What is the biggest challenge in your role today? Do you have a big challenge, and how are you overcoming it?
I think a challenge is, as a freelancer, remaining relevant and like constantly working. Like, it's scary. There's not a lot of TV gigs, there's not a lot of gigs, and in motorcycling the gigs aren't paid that well. So you really need to be doing a lot of other things. You really need to be thinking outside of the square. You need to marry rich. No, I haven't done that. If you can, sure, go for it. But yeah, I do think that freelancing in general is quite a stressful. You just don't know when pay is coming in. It can really screw with your head, especially when you've got kids. But I couldn't do a 9 to 5 either, so you just got to stick at it. Some days are good and some days are bad. And obviously, just being female in the industry, you think you get one step to progress, and then you realise, no, actually, shit's still the same. That was just a tokenistic whatever activity or olive branch or whatever, 2 boxes for whoever that manufacturer is or whoever that network is or whatever the organisation is. So that can be, I find that very challenging on the regular, to constantly having to be explaining why we are important at the table, you've tapped out the male market, yeah? So what's left? Oh, females, 50% of the population. That could mean more money. So I just don't know, it's a business decision. So it's, just beating my head against a wall with that, I do find frustrating.
But you are working towards this, because I believe you are in the board of Women in Automotive.
Yes, I was on the board of Motorcycling New South Wales, so the governing body in New South Wales. So I wrapped up my 2-year tenure there, and now I sit on the committee of Women in Motorcycling, so that's national, so that represents motorcycling. And then I've relaunched a business called Women in Automotive. It's very complicated, I know. There's women in this and that, and cars and 4-wheels, 2-wheels, but Women in Automotive is like we've turned it into now a private company, so a business. So it is all about connecting women. It's like a business chicks for women in automotive, basically. So you walk into a room, you're usually the only female in that room, and I think in automotive they're a little bit more progressive than motorcycling. So they really do see that the value in having women at the table, but they also really need to socially, ethically, morally, within HR departments, they've got KPIs they need to tick. They need to be showing their audience that they are making steps towards having more women in senior executive positions, and so that's really taken off in a big way, with a lot of organisations approaching us, working out how to attract and retain more female talent, which is really positive. And there's nothing out there like Women in Automotive. Really key for us is our membership, creating events around Australia, and developing this professional network, which includes our job board, and which is great because everybody just wants to stick jobs on there because we have a great professional network, and they're all interested in automotive. That's what companies have been saying. They don't know how to attract and retain female talent, and a lot of the time it is like all their execs are men and they don't know what to do. Like they just don't know what to do. So it's definitely something that's a really hot topic and needs a lot of work.
Yes, definitely. I'm watching this space closely. I'm following you and Women in Automotive on Facebook, on Instagram, and I really like what I see. I don't work in automotive, but I'm like, I want to be part of this crew. That's a good crew.
It is a good crew.
So it's very exciting to see that there is something happening in Australia about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we are the ones making the financial decisions behind the car. We're buying the cars. So to not market to us and not to involve us more, it's stupid. We can spend more money on your car, so talk to us.
Yes.
They're coming around to it now. Cars, that is. Motorcycles is a whole other kettle of fish.
Yes, yeah, I can imagine. And how are you managing all of that? Because you have a kid as well, you are often on the road for work. Do you find a balance out of this?
No. I think it's silly questions. And people might say yes, but they're lying. You just take one day at a time, and I never really know what I'm up to. I'm not very good at time management either, to be really honest. It's just because I've never worked in a corporate situation. Like, I don't have systems. I don't have time management.
System is your
It's not a good system very often. So I need to improve all of these things as I become more professional. And that'll happen one day. But I think having Monty, who's 2.5 now, was the hardest thing I've ever done in my whole life. And that proves to be a regular challenge. And because it's not like it used to be. Like, freelancers didn't exist, mums didn't really go to work, and mums just certainly didn't travel for work, but in the weirdest, most wonderful way, travelling for work means that my partner takes on so many more of the duties on the weekends and when I'm away, that he understands how to genuinely parent. So many dads don't know how to parent, because as soon as I come home, I just assume the duties and you just do it. But when they have to do everything, I actually think it's the most healthy thing for a relationship is for the mum to go away for work and for the dad to be forced to have to look after the child. I think it's a really positive thing. We should all do it.
I think you're absolutely right. When you put that into perspective, it forces the dad to take it up and keep the chin up and do what we used to do. And you're right. If we are both at home, instinctively,
yes,
the mother will do. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. Not being present will definitely force the dad to pick it up. It's actually very fair. I might go away for work for a few days.
Seriously.
I don't want every 2 weeks I'm traveling Melbourne nationally, but I leave every morning. And when I travel, I leave at 5:30 and I come back home at 7. Because I want to put my kids to bed while I should be actually sleeping in Melbourne or whatever. And I never do it because I'm like, I need to be here. But actually, do I really need to?
No.
Is the world going to stop?
No. They're not going to remember anyway. Maybe don't do it every time.
No, of course. But you know what? Maybe one night I could have a dinner with a glass of wine in my hotel room.
5 glasses of wine by yourself, honestly. Don't tell everyone, but
okay.
Just tell.
Dan, my husband, you don't need to watch this episode. It will just happen naturally.
Yeah, don't blame me. It's not all my fault. This is just the way forward.
If you could go back and give your 18 years old yourself an advice, what would it be?
I think, what would it be? I was a bit of a shithead, maybe be less of a shithead.
In what sense?
I just was just like I didn't. I think I would have liked to have planned for the future a bit better in terms of setting myself up. I was a shithead because I partied too much and didn't take anything seriously and whatever. And I feel like I really came into maturing and life later, because also I was modelling and that is not a normal reality. That is just not. So I was overseas and working and modelling, and it's just not normal, but it was a fantastic experience that really built my character and my personality. But I think if I was young again, I think I would definitely plan for the long term a bit better, and it'd be nice to have a financial education as well, which they really need to teach in school instead of all the other dumb shit they teach.
Geometry.
Yeah, whatever else. Yeah, I can't even remember. I've just repressed it all. Went in one ear and out the other. But yeah, I think that it would be good to understand your finances better to be able to set yourself up later in life. So yeah, that's probably.
And you said a bit earlier to put yourself out there, work towards what you want to achieve, let people know that you're available and you want this. Is there any other recommendation you would to someone who is trying to achieve their goals, change job, try to pursue something that they had in mind for so long but never did it?
Yeah, I think definitely something that I always think of is just because it's hard for you doesn't mean it's bad for you. If things are tough, you do need to analyse why they are tough and whether it is good for you or whether it is bad for you. And if you don't know what to do, I think just start something as well. So if you have your career and perhaps there's something that you love and whatever it is, perhaps it's a podcast, you can do it on the side and see where it goes. Because I think in the long term, it may not be paying as much as your finance gig, but you will continue to be inspired by it because it's in the really shitty times, your love and passion for it is what's going to keep you going rather than being depressed in your role. But it's really hard to say that because you've got to make money and you've got kids and you're living in Sydney or wherever the hell you're living, and it's really expensive. Yeah, that's a really tricky one, but I do think finding something that you really love will keep you inspired and going for a long time, and you'll be good at it, and it's easier when you love something. Yeah, that's such a boring piece of advice though. Do what you love. Be passionate and do it.
No, but it's true. You know what? This is a denominator with all my guests. When I'm listening to their stories and their success and what they achieved, some people started with absolutely nothing and now are running something so big. They all started it from a passion point of view, from love, something that they were excited about. And they never thought that they would be able to be where they are today, that they made it because they loved it.
Yeah.
And I think it can, as you said, it's hard. You need to work hard, you need to work at night, you need to work non-stop, you always need to be on your toe and making sure you stay relevant. But if you love what you are doing, it would be easier to do it.
Yeah, in the long term, that makes the late nights harder, and I think it does help for me thinking if I'm doing a job that I don't like or that I'm finding really hard, it's definitely what is the bigger picture? Like what does this mean in the bigger picture? If you do it, if you don't do it, does it add to the bigger picture, or can you just get through it and do it and then you can just continue on to this bigger picture? Like where does it fit in with everything? Not that I know what the bigger picture is, but I do know that I think in the end, you know how you work, you're just working and you don't quite know what the goal is, but you know that there's somewhere you're going to be, or somewhere that you are. All these little things are helping to prepare you for something that is coming, and you don't quite know what it is. You're working towards. There's just something bigger up there that you don't have right now, but when you get there, you'll be ready for it because of all these little shitty times or the really good times or whatever. Especially with me, I don't have in my world, there's no, I don't just want to be, I can't just be the CEO of whatever. There's no, the trajectory is different. I don't turn on the TV and I'm like, oh, I want to be that person. I don't want to be any of these people. To work out what I want to be is that in that big picture, it's still like it's a blur, but it feels like there's something there.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. Yes, I feel the same actually. There is something there for me. I can't see it right now. I can't really imagine what it is, but I know I need to go there.
Yeah, it's like you feel there's
Yes,
a pull or
yes,
something.
exactly.
And all the little bits, they make up what's going to make you ready for that
Yes.
at that time.
Absolutely. Thank you. I have a new segment called Do It in French. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions about French and France. They're pretty funny, I think. If you should protest for one thing, what would it be for?
Oh, I think we should be able to drink more breakfast wine.
I love it.
More breakfast wine should be served at breakfast more often.
I need to ask you this question. Are you a mimosa girl?
A mimosa?
Yeah.
God, no. Okay. No.
I
Cannot possibly mix anything with a quality
Thank you.
bubble.
I just wanted some reassurance. Thank you. If you should have one French trait of character, which one would it be?
Wish I could be more of an asshole. I just wish I could be more of a snob. Just look down at my nose at people and think, oh. Maybe I don't do it and I don't even know. People might say, oh, you've got that trait, you're okay. But in my mind, I think I'm so nice.
No, you come very approachable and nice. I can relate to it. Now, that's a tricky question, and I won't be offended if it's not French. But what is your favorite wine? Oh, you can give me 2.
Look, I do love champagne.
Okay.
Taittinger.
Thank you so much for your time, Kate. Love our discussion. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Lucky Last. If you enjoyed today's conversation, remember to subscribe or follow me on your favorite podcast platform. And if you are more of a visual learner, you can catch the video version of this episode on my YouTube channel. Just search for Lucky Last and hit subscribe to never miss an episode. As always, your support means the world to me. So until next time, keep chasing your dreams and embracing those lucky last chances. See you soon!